All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back once again to a special edition of Red Pill News. As always, my name is Zak Paine, the corruption detector, and joining me from my very good friends at C60 Evo, my good friend Chris Burres, the chief scientist at C60 Evo, and Patty Greer, co-owner of C60 Evo. Patty, how are you today?
I'm excited. I think just being on the air is one of the greatest gifts if we're sitting in the right frequency and we've got positive things to say,
Yes.
Which is all I'm about anymore. Thank God. We're going to make America healthy again.
Hey, that's right. That's right.
I sell C60 Evo. So I couldn't be happier with my immediate plan. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. I'm feeling pretty good myself, and I feel like just about every single person that I speak to feels the exact same way. It's like I've been saying that every single morning I wake up, and I'm excited to see what's happened in the world, what's going on, what's transpired while I slept, because the people at Doge never sleep, and every single day it seems like we've got brand new and exciting things happening all across the country, and it really is moving us into a much better place for all Americans. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you sit on, doesn't matter who you voted for, because even many of those people who did not vote for our illustrious president are realizing that when you make the country great again, whether it's healthy or wealthy or safety, it's all the same thing. It's good for every single one of us. It's an amazing thing. Chris, what about you, dude? It's so good to see you.
Yeah. Good to see you too. I'm excited. Also, make America healthy again. All of these changes, Doge, like crazy. Like what we were funding what and why? Like that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Now it's gonna be a little painful, right? There's gonna be some pain involved. Like people are gonna lose jobs. Like that's a thing that happens when you got a clean house. But the other side of it is gonna be so amazing. I'm excited, just like you guys.
Absolutely. You know, I've actually been kind of surprised seeing some of the people that have like suddenly realized that change necessarily has to hurt sometimes. Like I've never been through a period in my life that was easy, that allowed me to come out the other side without having learned something. Like if I just like skate through life like I did for like, my 20s, then I come through the other side and I haven't really learned much. I mean, obviously you grow as a person necessarily because you experience things, but you don't go through those fundamental life-altering experiences when they're simply, there's nothing that you have to strive against, when there's no fire that you have to run through. And, the last 8 years, I mean, you can go back much farther than that. Well, let's just talk about the last 8 years, because those are formative years in the eyes of many, many people. Because many of those people out there who were not attuned to this frequency, that were not, like, tuned into the fact that things were not right, they've come to that realization in the last 8 years. And now that we've got all of these different things in place and all of these changes are happening, the scales are off and people are seeing the world in a very different way. And because we have these changes happening, people have the opportunity now to recognize that it isn't about left and right. Okay, this is not a political issue. Making America healthy again, making your children set up for the future so that they can live happy, fulfilling lives, so that they can make something of themselves and so that our country can prosper. That's not a political issue. I mean, that is an issue that transcends political boundaries. And the response that I've seen from people who identify as leftists going against RFK Jr., going against the idea of making the country healthy, it simply defies any sort of logic, and the one thing that I have, the only criticism, which is not even valid, is that they keep going back to the idea that eggs are not less than $10 a dozen. and the price of eggs are not due to anything that has happened in the last 4 weeks. But what is happening in the last 4 weeks is that we've cut billions of dollars, unnecessary waste, out of the federal deficit and the federal budget. We've got a new HHS secretary who is already transforming the farming industry and the food additive industry and the pharmaceutical industry. And as a result, the entirety of the health industry. It's really a really wonderful thing for the people of this country. And hopefully it's going to extend out to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And I agree with everything you said. And we'll talk about the shock that Chris mentioned that people are going to go through. I live in Camirado, which is as bad as California. And we just helped the gang hide before ICE came and put them where they belong, which is back in their own jails, not in our cities. And to learn that they were flown in with my tax dollars in Colorado, and that my tax dollars are funding ISIS and Hamas condoms to the tune of $50 million.
And circumcisions, free circumcisions that were
Right.
costing us thousands of dollars.
I wonder how much did it cost when the DNC had their big party to bring, what was her name? Kamala? Like to be the
Kamala.
president of the world. And they had free abortion clinic vans out front. Let's talk about intuition. If people can't see what that was, like, what is your message? Kill babies. Less population. Okay, is that the message that America wants? The HHS has put Bobby Kennedy Jr., God bless that man, through the ringer. Well, he doesn't have the, this and that experience. It's like, my butt, he doesn't. Let's talk about who is in the position still this week. Is Rachel, Raquel, Rock and Roll, Richard, Dick, Levine. And somebody posted quite the response to a photo that I placed of Bobby and Richard Levine. I mean, Rachel, Mrs. Admiral Queen. In my opinion, we've been so tested that we would allow that person to impersonate a female, number one, as the representative of America's choice for HHS.
Or even to represent
Bobby?
To represent health. I mean,
that's one thing.
Yeah, be outside of the cross-dressing. I mean, like, just Bobby Kennedy is the picture of health. Obviously, this man knows what he's talking about when he's talking about how to make yourself healthy. When he's talking about how to impart that knowledge to the federal government, all of these agencies that are controlled by the pharmaceutical lobbies. And Rachel or Richard or whatever their name is, I don't even know what the birth name was. But that person is not healthy. That person is not in a good state, either phically or mentally. I'm not taking advice from them.
No. But let's take it to advice from Bobby. And I wish that believe me, I'm on the phone trying to make it happen. But I'm proud to say that I have sent personally, our lab, Bobby, 3 collection sets. So Bobby has received C60 Evo in MCT coconut, avocado, and olive oil 3 times. Now, the first time I learned it sat on his wife's desk for a while because we didn't know in advance it needed to be blessed in a church. We can do that. So my liaison to Bobby had the 2 boxes blessed, and I want a photo of Bobby and his spoon pouring. I'd be in heaven because we are selling the real deal. We are selling pure carbon fullerenes ESS 60. We're the only lab in the world producing what I call the good stuff, because I'm a simpleton. Chris is a scientist, and he will say it more eloquently. But for me, it's the good stuff. And when I look at anything that is intuitively selling what they want to be like us, they're not the ones in the peer-reviewed tests. But with intuition, when I saw like a company that thinks they're competing selling a facial serum with the same recipe for sex lube, I went, how much intuition does a person need to say deep state?
Yeah, sure.
Wait a minute. That feels like Rachel Levine energy. That feels like George Soros energy, that you would take something that won the Nobel Prize, that's been proven to deliver the longest longevity results in history, and the rats died without any tumors, first time in history, like a historic thing that you take on a spoon before noon and you cook all day long into a sex lube. I just went, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be redundant, but I felt insulted for a minute that, but it's like I was in the UFO field when we got infiltrated, and I smelled it come in. And because I choose to be intuitive rather than overly busy with my brain, I knew to get out, but I didn't get out quite quick enough. I got wounded severely because I was telling the truth back then. But I'm telling the truth today and every day moving forward. We need to put our brains in a higher frequency, or we're going to lose this battle of consciousness and spiritual war. The other night I was invited somewhere where the woman was really hesitant because she wasn't sure who I was, but it was for private time at her sacred sanctuary, and she's toured with all the major people. And I went over there with my closest friends since childhood, and 3.5 hours later, all yawning, we couldn't stop because we were feeling that incredible frequency of true love, of just being in hope, faith, consciousness, and knowing that everything's going to be okay. And I think it helps that we were all in our 70s, 70-ish, barely. But we were all like beyond the point of needing to impress people with our lives, our cars, even though we have killer cars. With lies. I need to just stop at lies because I'm so freaking honest. I scare people, maybe even Chris. I don't know, but I tell it like it is right when I have it because I don't want to sit on it.
Sure.
And that's why I feel like I'm raving about our products because I used to take a bunch of supplements and this and that, and now I only take Evo. I start my day with this in my coffee, MCT, I'm wiggling, the MCT coconut oil. I actually, before the show, I had some black tea. Now that's interesting. I don't usually wiggle.
Black tea will do that to me. Like I drink a lot of coffee, okay, but black tea in particular, there's something about the caffeine, and there's probably other like alkaloids and constituents in there, I would imagine. Like I got to be real careful with black tea. Like I will be jittery.
Well, the thing was, I knew that I could just take another spoonful of Evo because I've been going since 6. And from the minute I get up, I'm like, I'm so excited. I can't get enough news. After I look at our stats, for sales and whatever, and people I need to write back to on our team. But for me, it's start the day, coffee and this. And I don't get jitters from the coffee because I think the MCT really soothes it, but it's one of 6 ingredients. My coffee is my party in the morning. And it's all organic, but I do coffee with honey and cinnamon, local honey, and the ESS 60 and organic grass-fed butter, whipping cream, organic. And it's a party in a cup. But I go until 9 at night, nonstop. I don't have a tired moment. Today I did because I was just overdosed on moving. Then I went, oh God, show, meeting. I got to tweak my brain. So I made some tea, which I will not do again. Instead, because I knew we were going to do a spoon. I was just kind of waiting. I don't want to do 3 doses.
We should, because I've been waiting to take mine. I had a bunch of stuff to do this morning, and I was like, let's do this.
Well, see, I was waiting, and now I know, don't do the tea. Just yawn at the top of the show if you need to, but I wasn't yawning.
There we go.
Okay, so I'm finally hitting off my giant bottle. This is a 32 ounce, and so I'm going to pour a spoonful of my giant bottle. But we're selling a lot of these lately. I think people are getting it that, can we trust the post office, UPS, FedEx? I don't know. But stock up because we want the Evo, so we don't need a bunch of other stuff.
I overpoured, so I had to take it right then. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought you were a little excited.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Sláinte.
Okay, now we're going to go on fast mode because all of us did the Evo. And what I mean by that is that it really tweaks your brain. It inspires your energy fields, and Chris will explain it more eloquently, that it's helping clean the mitochondria and the cells and everything. But for me, it's like, give me a buzz, give me a taste of Evo, and I'm good for the day.
So, Chris, there is obviously millions and millions, maybe even billions of dollars that likely is going to be freed up through HHS for all kinds of health and research. And I'm just wondering if, this might be an avenue you guys might explore as well. I mean, obviously, if Bobby is now HHS secretary, you're trying to make sure that it's on his radar. There are already a number of studies showing the incredible benefits of C60 and ESS 60 in particular. Do you have any ideas of different avenues you might want to take, research that you guys could do?
Well, I mean, Patty already has some connections, has gotten products sent to him. So that is one exciting area.
Sure.
I can tell you that as somebody who's coming into this role, as somebody who looks as good as he does, as old as he is, right? Those things are typically assumed to be, combined.
Are you talking about Bobby or you?
Bobby, yeah. I know that he's had on the back of his mind this concept of chronic inflammation,
Yeah.
right? We've got inflammaging is a new word effectively, which means the inflammation that is causing aging. Now we have to be very careful when we're talking about inflammation because the way that the FDA looks at that, and I think that'll continue. I think that's the right approach because those to tie inflammation directly to the diseases of inflammation, which are also the diseases of aging. You know, you don't need a bunch of people running out there going, "Hey, we address inflammation," which means that we heal arthritis, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's. Like that's not the Wild West that we really want to have. We want to have good controls on that. But I promise you, he's been thinking about inflammation. He's been staying away from improperly processed oils that cause inflammation. He's been exercising, that's obvious, which helps reduce inflammation. That actually can create an acute inflammation, and we're allowed to say that we address that type of inflammation. But he's thinking about these things. He's getting proper sleep, which helps address inflammation. And it's exciting where we sit in here. So I'm going to go, if it's okay with you, I'll go through kind of what we think it does in the mitochondria. I've got a fun little example to wrap that up so we can, so hopefully it gets a clear picture. Basically, here's what we think is happening. It's called the BOSS theory, buffering oxidative stress system. We believe this ESS60, well, we know from peer-reviewed published research that this ESS60 molecule gets into the mitochondria. We know it can also hold up to 6 negatively charged particles. So the mitochondria is the powerhouse of every cell. Every cell in your body has between 50 and 5,000 mitochondria, except for your blood cells, which have 0, and then your brain and neurons actually have 2 million. That's how much energy our brain and our nervous system uses compared to the rest of our bodies. So the mitochondria is the powerhouse of every cell, and like every powerhouse, it's got a negative byproduct, right? Your car going down the road has exhaust, your power plant has a smokestack. In the case of mitochondria, you have reactive oxygen species. These are negatively charged particles that run around and do damage if they're left on their own, on their own devices. Inside the mitochondria, you have 2 antioxidants, glutathione and melatonin. By the way, just real quick, our most consistent testimonial is people take the product in the morning, they report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night. The 2 antioxidants in the mitochondria are glutathione and melatonin. Melatonin, the sleep hormone, right? So there's a lot of parallels here. Mm-hmm. When the mitochondria gets stressed, this can be from exercise, it can be from, radiation exposure, too much sunlight, it can be from the stress of an email. That's when it produces more reactive oxygen species than the glutathione and melatonin can handle. That's when this ESS60 molecule holds on to those excess reactive oxygen species so they can't run around and do any damage until that mitochondria can replenish the glutathione and melatonin and then manage those reactive oxygen species appropriately. So the fun example, I know you guys have heard this, it's the end of Mardi Gras, you're on Bourbon Street, you got these drunk reactive oxygen species run around doing a bunch of damage. What does the New Orleans Police Department do? They send out the glutathione and melatonin to handcuff themselves to these reactive oxygen species and get them off of Bourbon Street. But when they're overwhelmed, the New Orleans Police Department sticks them in a paddy wagon, right? Attaches them to this ESS60 molecule so they can't do any damage. And then when they can replenish the glutathione and melatonin, they then handcuff themselves to these reactive oxygen species and get them off of Bourbon Street. And that's why we say that the ESS60 molecule is the boss. And remember, I said there's 2 million mitochondria in your brain and your nerve cells. So just your brain function alone, 2 million of these mitochondria. If you're reducing the negative impact that stressed mitochondria can have on your system, then you're going to improve your system and you're going to see an outsized benefit in the brain. You're going to see an outsized benefit in focus and energy and also this ability to sleep, which is our most consistent testimonials. And if your brain's working better, then your emotions are going to be working better. We've always had trying times. We're going to continue to have trying times. The more balanced you can be, right? The better brain focus you can have, the better off you're going to be. And that's how we think this molecule is working in our system.
So let me just ask you this, because I don't think that I ever have before. I made an assumption, and I'd like to know if I'm correct. So once the C60 atom attaches to those negative ions and then pulls it out of the mitochondria. Does it pull it out of the mitochondria, or does it hold onto it and then it remains in there and then there is some sort of exchange once more?
Yeah, we believe it's a buffer, right? So BOSS stands for buffering oxidative stress system. So we believe it sits in that mitochondria because once that mitochondria is overwhelmed and there's extra reactive oxygen species, that's when they can get outside of the mitochondria and start doing damage in the cell, right?
Okay.
And just to kind of point out, a lot of supplements are so excited to share. We work at the cellular level. This BOSS theory suggests that we work at the subcellular level.
Yeah, the organelle level.
So that ESS60 molecule stays in the mitochondria and holds on to those reactive oxygen species, keeping them where they are so that they can't do any damage. And then they just get recycled. So it's a buffer. It's not something that replaces glutathione or melatonin. Don't really want to start inducing things that change a fundamental operating process in our body that's been operating really since almost single cell times. You adding this so that it buffers it. So it gives you some leeway. Now, if you're incredibly unhealthy, again, if you're smoking, if you're drinking too much, if you've got lots of exposure, lots of stress, this will give you the kind of analogy I have is you've got a faucet that's running and it's landing in dirt and digging a hole, right? And you don't want that hole. If you put a beaker in front of it, it'll fill up that beaker. But if you don't fix that flow, right? If you don't get healthier, then it's eventually going to overflow and start getting back to, making that hole in that dirt, right?
Yeah.
So it gives you that buffer because we experience times of lots of stress and less stress. And what happens is when we're experiencing lots of stress, that's when we do damage to ourselves, and we're experiencing less stress, there's no buffer to hold on and take advantage of those less stressful times. And that's where we think the ESS60 molecule comes into play.
Okay, excellent. So you guys know I'm getting married here in like 2 weeks. Not even 2 weeks. Yeah, like March 8th.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So
Congratulations.
thank you very much. I appreciate it. But I bring it up because Lisa is extremely stressed about the wedding. And I know that she hasn't taken C60 in like the last month because she's also a realtor, okay? And she's had like a ton of open houses, and so she's leaving far earlier than I am getting up in the morning because she's got to go to the office and she's got to prepare all this stuff. And normally I'm the guy who like gets everything ready for her in the morning. So like I'll have the C60 ready, I'll have her coffee ready, and I'll have all these different things to prepare her. But if I'm not up, then I know that she's not doing the same things. But I'm gonna get on her, and I'm gonna make sure that like I just have everything set out in the morning before I go to bed so that she's ready to go ahead and start taking it again. Because I can tell you guys came into my life at like the perfect time. Because during the first, I would say the first 2 years, maybe, because we moved here in 2021, and that was really when we started working together, like the end of 2021, and like that was a rough year because obviously very stressful moving to Florida from Michigan and from Ohio. I had to coordinate all of that while at the same time maintaining the show and keeping this train moving along. And then, of course, there's all of this exterior stress from like what's happening in the country and around the world. And for a while there, I didn't have a lot of fun waking up in the morning. I would wake up and I'd be like, oh God, I can't believe I have to keep doing this. Like, I don't have any choice, but it's like, it's the last thing I want to do right now because I just did not want to even pay attention to it. And I can understand why people tuned out for a period of time. I get it. But there was a sense of obligation, not only for myself to continue making sure that I provide for my family, but also to the audience and then, to the country in a larger sense. People needed to understand what was going on, and people also needed to maintain a certain level of motivation because this too shall pass. Everything is temporary. And people were looking at that time as the end of times. A lot of people thought America's never going to recover. I hear this every 4 years. If this doesn't happen, America is done. We're over. It's not going to work. And I'm like, okay, think about how many times in your life you've gone through a trying time and you've thought that your life wasn't going to work out. Oh my God, if I don't get this house, then my life is over. If I don't get this job, my life is over. If I don't get the girl that I want, then my life is over. If we don't elect the right person, then our country's over. But that's just not the way it works. Everything is cyclical. And so when we started working together and I started taking C60 on a regular basis, like my outlook on the world and the amount of stress that I had in dealing with all of this on a daily basis, it completely switched in the opposite direction. And, I don't want to give people the wrong idea. I think that this is a vital part to my personal health routine. And it came along with a number of other changes. But what you described, Chris, makes so much sense because, of my own knowledge of how things work at the cellular level and the processes that take place in the human body. And so, I think I can safely say that this really was a large part of why I was able to change my outlook and continue on in the way that we did. And here we are today. I'm never stressed about anything anymore. Even in the last couple of years living down here in Florida, it was like, I was like, yes, I know what's going on. I know that there's bad things happening, but I always have my eye on the future and understanding that, we've got to go through these things if we're going to be able to move on and expand our thinking, evolve as a nation, evolve as a people. The changes that we're experiencing right now are so wonderful. And I have a lot of hope for every single person out there right now because this nation is so unhealthy. It's more unhealthier than it's ever been in my entire life. And I think back to when I was a kid and, just the way people looked, right? And the amount of sickness that was out there. It paled in comparison to what we see today. And primarily you see all of these really, really sick kids, like something is seemingly as prolific as allergies, right? Think about when you guys were kids. How many kids did you know that had a peanut allergy? How many kids did you know that couldn't go in the grass? How many kids did you know that, had to take, some like heavy anti-allergy medication just so that they could, go out in the world? It just...
How about gluten?
Yeah, gluten. That's a great example. Gluten. I didn't know anybody, not a single person, and I had a stuffy nose in the summertime when I was a kid, but it wasn't like I couldn't do anything. And I got to a certain age and it just passed. It was like my body got used to everything. And I think that's the way it's supposed to work. But because we have all of these sicknesses and chronic illnesses that kids are dealing with, it's like your body is overwhelmed with everything. You don't have the ability. You don't have that reserve, like you said, Chris. And so people's bodies never get to the point where they can start adjusting and dealing with it and then normalizing. And if we don't fix that, then we are done. That's it,
Well, we have solutions, and now we've got grown-ups back in office that are willing to bring them to the public.
Yeah.
When Bobby, hopefully, writes me a little letter and says, okay, I'm totally digging on this, that's going to be a great day for me. I'm going to be really excited because I do believe that he's on our team and he's on the team of every living and breathing human. And you and I received these directly from Bobby's team. It wasn't just that I bought them online. I didn't. Mm-hmm. And my connection came over here the other day because I'm like, what can I give you? What can I do? How can I, because I really, really, really want to be more direct with Bobby and make sure that, we can get this to President Trump also. I'm like really trying to get my foot in the door. And she, it's really hard to get anything right now when everything is so busy.
Sure.
But the fact that for the last year and a half, we've been sending in products and communicating gives me a sense of grace and success with the fact that we're doing something of very high integrity. And my partners are the only lab in the world making the good stuff. So I'm going to do simpleton talk because Chris does molecular understandings for those that think that way, but a lot of simpletons think more like me. So the basis of what he was talking about with the mitochondria and everything is that the brain functions better when you've got a clean system.
Mm-hmm.
And the ESS60 deals directly with mitochondria, which Chris said is in every cell, most every cell, not blood, but more than anywhere else is in the brain, which also includes more than anywhere else is in the pineal gland, which is really important to people that are working on raising their frequency, communicating with their higher self. The pineal gland is so clogged from the fluoride in the water, the poison in the food, the blah, 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 blah. We all know those things. But I think what we're dealing with now is also people that unfortunately believe that the shots were a good idea when everybody had the flu. And they called it the monster, but it was just a frickin' flu. But it was an intentional frickin' flu. And speaking of intentional, we've got the fake fog again here.
We've got it in Florida, Jacksonville. Yep.
So I expect to read on nextdoor.com, owned by Soros and Facebook, that, oh God, everybody's sick, go get another shot. But again, I went out because I had to go somewhere and I ran from my car to, I'm not paranoid, but I was just trying to honor the fact that I'm dealing with an enemy still. We haven't cleaned it up. Bobby hasn't wiped, but the good thing is we're defunding the people that are funding all these bad things. So we just found the lacy underpants of the admiral. We just found it's kind of obvious that's some big lace and it's hot pink, and they try and go, oh no, he's normal, but it's hot pink. It's raging in my face, but it's only because I take Evo. So I should wear a T-shirt saying, don't lie to me because I'm going to know. And I think that a lot of Evo people are just seeing beyond everything. And I don't mean to say Evo like we're some evolved. Oh, wait, that's our name. Evolution is our name, C60 Evolution. There's a reason behind all of our products and our name. And the evolution of consciousness is coming right at the same time as the evolution of the C60 industry. Because you say C60 a lot, but again, that's kind of like Chris and Robert do that for industrial grade C60.
Right.
Tires, batteries, photocells. But when companies are selling industrial grade, we want to say to them, well, no, that's not for people and pets. ESS 60 is. But we can only say it so far. And those that are choosing to have a higher frequency are going to say, ooh, this sounds really good. And all the shows that we do, the audiences are becoming super lovey-dovey. And a lot of them, I hear my name. Like people are writing, all these really kind things. So they're really feeling the benefits. They don't have to write, about loving the channel and loving what Chris and I say, but they are now. And I think it's because the frequency is rising. And those of you that are committed to do interviews with us are really showing the benefits. And I didn't know that you had moved, you're stressed, or God forbid that you're getting married in 2 weeks. Let's make sure you've got all the products.
Yes.
After the show, I'll make sure. But the trick for Lisa, as long as she wants it, because I want her to be radiant as much as possible.
She uses all the products. It's just taking the oil in the morning that she hasn't been doing recently that I know. Yes.
Is it olive oil on a spoon or MCT in her coffee?
So she prefers the MCT because it's not
Me
as
too.
yeah. I prefer the olive oil. I'm like, go big or go home. That all gas, no brakes. That's me.
Right, well, you guys are men, and
Yeah.
she and I are ladies.
Yeah.
But it is half as strong because the formula will only hold a certain amount of ESS 60, and the rest will drop to the bottom. So Chris and Robert, after 34 years now, because I don't want to sound Sonic, and it's been 34 years, that it literally holds half as much. So I take twice as much. But the reason I insist on this, number one, I love the taste, but I never get up and do a day without coffee. This is in my morning coffee religiously. When I was doing the olive oil, twice as strong, half as easy, or, half as much effort, I would forget a lot of days because I didn't think of the spoon and the olive. But once I got hooked on putting it in my coffee, I never forget, and I never get tired during the day. An hour ago when I did the black tea, it was just like, I don't know what I was thinking, other than I really like being crisp in my brain for the shows, no matter if I got up at 4:30 or 5. And I do. I find myself, I go down with the sun and up with the sun. But, we'll see if we still have daylight savings next year because things are cleaning up. For me, the thing about the Evo and the explanation scientifically is I just do physical. I'm telling you, my brain is unstoppable. And I don't brag like, oh, I'm so smart. That's not what I mean. But from morning until night, I am tick, tick, tick with full memory. I never had a good memory. But I also had 2 hip replacements in the last year, less than a year for my second one. And I'm walking, dancing, cruising like it never happened. And I'm seeing a lot of people, 50s, 60s, 70s, 40s even, that need body part replacements
Yeah.
because we have beat ourselves up with the lack of good food and nutrition and exercise and marathons, and people aren't really fully prepared. But when athletes learn about this product as a preventative measure, oh my God, they can run further, last longer, and not hurt the next day. And Chris has talked to a lot of advanced athletes that have reported insane benefits. I deal with a lot of people that have pets, and they write these tear-jerking testimonials that their dog lived years longer, that they thought they were going to have to put it to sleep. Now he's totally back. Update report on my feral cat. I've got a cat outside that's lived through minus degrees in the last month. We've had a couple of extremely cold nights. He disappeared for days. I was like, oh God, don't tell me he froze. But he disappeared on the warm day. Came back 4 days ago, like in the morning, and it's because I give him the Evo.
Yep. Yep.
I do cut up chicken also when I have it, but C60 Evo for dogs and for cats, flavored in their favorite. The cat one has salmon, so no matter what I do, loves it. But I think that's why I won the heart of the feral cat of my neighborhood. Sure enough, the cat came back, and he gets Evo every day. And for me, I just feel like it's what I'm doing for God. If I can save this cat from freezing with Evo every day, I'm going to do it because I know the testimonials are saying my lethargic cat is up and playing and chasing butterflies again. God, I hope we don't lose butterflies. We've
Yeah.
lost so much because of the poisoning of this planet. And I really feel excited about the turning around of no more poison and of better direct route products. And that's why I'm extremely proud of our company. This to me is a direct route to health.
Amen.
You take it on a spoon before noon or you're up late, and it's effortless. That's it. Instead of 10 or 12 supplements every day, I take a spoonful of Evo. And it was very interesting that I had that black tea for the first time in ages. And I was holding the bottle, I could see my hand shake. It was like, that's tea compared to Evo. I am not doing that again. And so next time I'll just wait until we do it. But I want to say to people also, and I want Chris to confirm if this is true. My understanding was when you take Evo daily, it has a really great sustained value. Body, mind, spirit is just healthy. But when you skip it for a few days, it'll last another 10 days in your system, typically, if you've been doing it for a while. And I had the understanding that all those toxic, icky mitochondria that were attached to the buckyballs, the C60 Evo molecule, that we washed it out with our going to the bathroom. Now, doesn't it leave the body, the toxins, or does it not leave the body?
Well, so I think you're talking about the reactive oxygen species that are when you're dealing with the mitochondrial that's stressed. Remember, the ESS60 molecule just holds on to those. This is our current theory, right? We've got good reasons to believe this theory, but it is still a theory. The ESS60 molecule holds on to those reactive oxygen species, creating that buffer so that when the mitochondria can get unstressed and has extra glutathione and melatonin to manage those reactive oxygen species. It manages them like normal, right? So it just is this barrier stopping them from going around and doing damage when the mitochondria is stressed, and it holds on to them so that when it's unstressed, it manages them properly. So however the body currently gets rid of reactive oxygen species, that's how it gets rid of these that were at one point attached to the ESS60 molecule. I can share with you, yeah, our kind of understanding in the literature is that this clears your system in about 10 days. And this would come out in feces because it's not a water-soluble molecule. So it doesn't come out in urine, it comes out in feces. And we've got some good examples. So I've got a business coach who describes his experience on the product as this. For 50 years, I needed an alarm clock in order to wake up. When I started taking the product on a regular basis, I wake up before the alarm clock. Then he'll run out from time to time. About 10 days after he's run out, he starts to need the alarm clock again until he gets back on the product, and then he'll actually start waking up before the alarm clock again. And a couple things to point out there. He's a business coach. So he's out networking. He sometimes has late dinners. He sometimes has like wine and dinner and then more wine and then maybe a little more wine, and is still waking up before the alarm clock, even though it's a late night, there's less sleep, and there's some alcohol involved. And that's a consistent testimonial that we get. So I can share the thing that's important is so I can share when I was initially so that's one thing, saying, hey, it kind of lasts about 10 days. My perspective is when I first started taking this on a regular basis, it wasn't part of my coffee routine yet. And so I would miss it every now and then. But what I could always do, like if I came to the middle of the day, the middle of the afternoon, and I was yawning and thinking I needed another cup of coffee or maybe even a nap, I could always look back and I hadn't taken my C60 Evo that day. And so that's why it was so important to me to make it part of my coffee routine. And similar to you, Patty, so what I do is I take about a teaspoon and a half of our MCT product that goes in my coffee. That's oil. MCT is oil and water. They don't mix. So you want to turn that into an emulsify it by blending it. While that's blending, I'm taking a teaspoon and a half of the olive oil product, and then that's now a fixed piece of my coffee routine in the morning. And so I just don't get to the afternoon. I mean, sure, if there's an extremely stressful day and maybe I didn't get that much sleep, I might, think about another cup of coffee. I just do another shot and I'm good.
Yeah, I should have done that instead of the tea, but I'm good. I want to mention some of our influencers. Alfred Lambermont Weber, 82 years old, decided that he had done the Evo from us for years, consistently, and he thought he'd take a little break. So he said 10 days, all of a sudden he lost everything. He's like, I'm tired, I can't think so. And I don't want to say we get addicted to feeling good and being conscious. We're not addicted. We choose to feel good and to enjoy our brains more because we're more present there. So he said, when I got back on it, I was so excited with the results that now I do a tablespoon a day instead of a half a teaspoon. Like he was doing half a teaspoon, a full grown man. But here's a man that's been working with us. He's 82. He just wrote another huge novel, dropped at the end of January. In his 80s, he's still writing major books, writing major articles. And I won't elaborate, but he's an amazing man with hair that now goes beyond the bottom of the video screen because Evo helps your nails grow, your skin improve, your hair. And so I was actually growing my hair out. I wanted to do the Evo challenge. And 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh, I've had it because my hair is so curly that it just grows out.
I was going to say your hair looks different. It looks really, really good.
Yeah, I got it my favorite little do, which is short on top and just some tendrils. So, I'm like Victorian turn of the century, old school. But it's a lot easier to deal with. But I do the challenge sometimes with the Evo. I never don't take it because for me, to have survived 2 hip replacements at the level I did, my doctors are like, my neighbors, my friends are like, weren't you limping? I'm like, yeah, but I got them both replaced. And they're like, what? Aren't you hurting? It's like, nope. Oh yeah, I got to remember to lotion up. So now I'm kind of going back to remembering, to put my body cream with the ESS60 on my 5-inch scars. But I almost forgot. which I love, because when we go through hardships, we want to be able to move fully past.
Hmm.
We have another influencer, Riss Flex, 30, 32. She's young, she's fresh, super smart. But when we started working with her, much like you, about the same time, she had migraine headaches that were putting her under the table.
Hmm.
And there were a lot of days when she couldn't function. And she was like, oh my God, I haven't had a migraine since I can remember. Now, of course, I'm not telling the audience that Evo works or that, you're going to have these results, which we're supposed to say. So, but a lot of people have had great results with the Evo having bad headaches, let alone migraines.
Me
You're
too.
one.
I used to, yeah. And actually, when we moved to Florida, I mean, it hasn't been since we moved here that I've had one. And, it's the exact same like timeline in which I've been taking the ESS 60. And, I didn't really think about it. I mean, I was just like, oh, thank God, I don't have migraines anymore. But that's pretty awesome. That's really, really awesome that the same thing happened to her. I hadn't even thought to mention it. And this is something actually that I did want to say. I mean, much like Alfred. So when your body is running correctly, it's not always something that you're like consciously aware of. It's just like you're supposed to be at peak operating potential. Like that's just how your body is meant to operate. And you only really notice it when you go below like subprime and things are not operating correctly. It's like, like, geez, oh, Pete, it's like, why am I tired? Why do I have a headache? What is it, suddenly that I'm not running on all cylinders? It's like you can run your car on they have like unleaded, but then they have like sub unleaded. There's a gas station, I don't remember what it is. The car will run on that lower octane fuel, but it's not going to run as well as it would if you put premium in it. And if you run the premium in it, like you're like, wow, that's there's a different sound to it. You get better gas mileage, and you will continue to operate, but you just won't operate on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to respond to your alcohol comments, both of you. I threw a baby shower yesterday for somebody I adore, and there were 35 women, and I brought 10 platters of food. Thank you, Whole Foods. And oh yeah, I've been cooking for days. Okay, so anyway, the party was amazing, and in my purse, I had little samples because there's always people there that really need it. And now I'm looking at all these people, and my daughter warned me clearly, don't talk politics. And I'm there with the other grandmother. We're like so Bobby, she's got her hat, I've got my hat. And my little granddaughter whispered to me, shh, shh, shh. And I was like, what? And I looked around and there's, one person, and she goes, and I was like, you know what? It's time to get over that.
Yeah.
For people who want to keep paying for condoms for the enemy that are killing people that feel great that we financed 9/11, let's get real. People that feel good that we just paid 165,000 people Medicare, no, Social Security, that didn't even deserve it or maybe died or that aren't alive. For people not to get what we're in right now, which is the evolution of humanity and the return to consciousness. I mean, we've had hundreds of years, but the last 100 years of serious criminal behavior. And it made me feel like I needed to be quiet around people because I'm thinking, am I nuts or am I seeing this? And 6 months ago, I told my CPA, whole team of great, smart people, you watch in a year, your job is going to be different because you're going to write your clients instead of saying you owe tens of thousands of dollars to Satan. Instead, you're going to say, guess what? I'm sending you a refund. Now, I'm not going to guarantee that that's true, but from what it's looking like, they're saving what, $2.3 billion a day?
I think it's up to 4 and climbing. Yeah.
So our Medicare, our Social Security, our Medicaid for people that need it, our, shall we say, support for Los Angeles, where the state burned down everybody's homes. Sorry, smart meters, drones, fog, chemtrails. I'm not going to be nice about it. This is what's happening, and a lot of people know it. But if we pretend that we don't, okay, what a shame. 17,000 people lost everything. Oh, 17,000 families lost everything. Businesses, generations lost everything. Somebody just wrote us, and I need to write her back. She said, I lost everything. All I want is some Evo. And I'm going to say right now, we'll send you a bottle.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, but we are cleaning up such a mess right now. And when I started the show by saying we really need to raise our consciousness and be kind, when I left this baby shower, the only reason I mentioned it was because my ride, who has this huge car, and there were other people, everybody was drinking. But I don't drink very much because I got there, all Evo'd up and, brought the party. And so she's like, can you drive the boat home? Can you drive us all? And I had, 4 sips of champagne because I want to be social. And I was definitely feeling a buzz because I'm a $2 date. Of course, these days it's $20 date for one drink. But for me, I was kind of feeling the buzz, but I knew that my brain was on and that I was the only one capable. So I was like, you bet. And I got in this boat, and it was really funny because it felt like my camper that's 24 feet long. I was like, okay, I can do this. I'll just pretend I'm driving the big camper. And it was effortless. And even though the steering threw me, like, oh, I just feel this confidence in me because my brain is functioning. And I want that for everyone in America because when the people that didn't believe, no more taxes, no more selling children at the border, no more politicians getting paid by US aid, no more of this. There's going to be a lot of people that hurt, go into shock, go into fear, go into pain. But we need to look at the long run. And I really think that if people were taking Evo, they'd have a lot better chance of doing it. A lot of the supplements aren't what they say. A lot of the, I'll say, competing products aren't at all what they say. And I didn't know this before I started working with Chris and Robert, but now that I've been in 5.5 years of really watching the science and learning about the old school industrial, which you don't want to give your pets, and you certainly don't want to give it to yourself, still being pushed out by deep state. Bear with me. They get a lot more PR than we do. And I've been really fighting the stepped on nature of interviews like this. Like it's different results, it's different what. But even my YouTube channel, when you send me the link and I post it, 19 views? It should be 19,000 like his show. So it takes a lot of patience on my part to tolerate what I know is going on when other people can't see it. It's not anybody's fault, but I've been living with suppression since I made my first film.
Sure.
In 2013, they hacked my website with this message, which I should have listened, but then I wouldn't have had all this fun. It said, telling the truth in times of universal deceit is a revolutionary act. And they hacked my Crop Circle Films website.
Wow.
And the work that it took to get those demons out of my site, but they plastered that, basically warning me, Patty Greer, stop telling the truth.
Yeah.
And then I was the one in the UFO field that I'm sorry to say they used as, do you want what happened to her? They hit me with a directed energy weapon. True. And I went down hard at the airport after my last gig. I made it my last gig because the field was infiltrated by bad people. Now we know it's all CIA.
Yep.
And phobia. It's all those people that are choosing not to let the truth come out to the public. But for me, this is like sodium pentothal. And I people, I should have a t-shirt that says, warning, I tell the truth at all costs, leave now. So I might make the t-shirt, but I do want to say that having my friend over, Bobby's connection, Bobby Kennedy Jr., very, very delighted. I said to her, I've got another friend dying for a gang hat. Can you get me another hat? She said, I've got a whole bag at home in different colors. Some of them rainbows. And I went, I'll look at the rainbow one and let you know, because that's kind of like, yeah. But yes, please. And she goes, yeah, and I've got t-shirts. So anyway, when I'm holding the goods, the true Bobby goods, directly from Bobby's people, we will have hats and some t-shirts. And some of them say MAHA, Some of them say Bobby Kennedy Jr., but you're going to be one of the first shows because you do have one of my gang hats.
Yes, we
I
do.
got 6. 4 went to the family, 1 went to you, and 1 went to You Are Free TV. Because I know you guys have been relentlessly telling the truth about the evolution of our government and the evolution of humanity's consciousness. And Chris and I have the product. I mean, to me, this is liquid gold.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
So I do need to interject because I have to drop off. I'm going to let you guys wrap this up.
I was going to say we've been at it for an hour. I can't even. I have to drop off too. I've got. But
it's
listen,
the Evo.
But before we go, Patty. Last time we said that we were going to be giving a C60 Evo, and okay, you got to go, Chris. We'll see you, buddy. Bye.
Bye.
We were going to be giving an ESS 60 prize pack to one of our lucky viewers on the channel, and I chose one of them at random who adhered to all of the guidelines that we stipulated in the last show. And I just want to let them know, because hopefully they're watching. Peaker7 commented, I am very interested in the set for my dogs and cats and my wife and I. Thanks for the great video. So your name I will not say online because you don't have it on your profile there on Rumble, but your name is Peaker7. So what I'm going to do is forward your email over to Patty and Chris, and that way you guys can go ahead and get that. And maybe if you end up getting a MAHA hat, you can throw it in there as well if there's another one from your friend.
Yeah, I don't have them yet.
Okay,
and that'll be a separate raffle once I do. Okay, I don't want to make promises until I'm holding the goods.
Right on.
But we will definitely send Beaker a 4-ounce bottle.
Peaker7, yes.
Okay. Your friend that writes us, and why don't you write to me, hello@c60evo.com.
Okay.
Send it to me there.
Will do.
And if any of your audience wants to ask questions or whatever, you can always reach me at hello@c60evo.com. And I Sundays, I don't care. Nights, I'm always checking because I'm always watching news. So we're going to send your people a bottle of the olive oil, the strong stuff, and I think that they will highly benefit. You can put a couple drops in your dog's bowl and your cat's bowl, but if you love the product and you're convinced that it works, grab yourself the real stuff, which is the same thing as yours that we're going to send you, except the dog's has a little bacon essence and the cat formula has salmon essence, which the pets love.
Yes.
So great. Yeah, let's do a raffle every month.
Okay.
I think it's a healthy thing, and it's also a little selfish on my part because I know that every time I give a sample, I'm going to have a regular customer. But it's not selfish. It's that I want people to all be feeling better.
Yes.
And the testing of what we're going through right now, and since Chris left, he's like, oh, no taxes, bah humbug, because he's the realist. I'm the woo-woo who sees the future, I think. And I can't say that with assurance and put my finger on it, but I really, really feel tremendous faith in our evolution. And even with all the suppression, our company's still killing it. Absolutely. Because a lot of people, such as you, have a big audience. And when your audience sees the change in you, or this change in wrist flex where she's no longer having to not do shows for days because of the migraines, or Alfred, who's like back hardcore. Everybody that said, yeah, I'm going to quit for a little while, came back and started doing more. And it's not like I said, basically, it's just you choose to feel better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I do want to mention we have products head to toe because after experimenting for the last 6 years, it works. The facial serum is my very favorite, and it's natural, organic, vegan, 21 ingredients, including 2 of our oils. I think the olive, no, it's the MCT and the avocado, great skin, natural oils. We also do it in the body cream and a lip balm. But when it's infused with the ESS 60, you've got molecules that are cleaning your skin, helping your lips heal, helping your body skin rejuvenate with natural products. To me, it's just super cool to not be doing all these chemicals anymore.
Yes.
And until it's no longer offered with all these chemicals, people are going to keep doing it and staying sick. But I think the awareness is really growing. And I do want to say for people that don't like the taste of oil, we also have the strong stuff in capsules. And there's 180 capsules per bottle. My friends take between 2 and 6 per day. Depending on, the size of your body and your desire to have your brain awake. Some people want full dose, which is 6 capsules a day. But the good thing about the capsules also is that you can take a baggie full on a plane, but you can't take a bottle of oil
Yeah.
until we get rid of that broken system also. What a farce. So these are great in your desk at the office if you go to work. And they're just portable. That's the main thing about the capsules. And they're surrounded by a natural gelatin. So it's a little bit of food also, they say, along with the molecule. I personally don't eat in the morning. I just do my coffee. But, it's a big cup and it's full of all these amazing foods that work together to give me the perfect buzz. So I encourage everybody to at least try a 4-ounce bottle. And if the reaction is, oh my God, it's so expensive at first look, why don't you look at what you're paying for the supplements in your kitchen?
Hmm.
Like if there's 2, if there's 10, take a look at those bottles and add them up and see if you're really getting benefits from them that you can feel. Now, I needed to stop all my supplements to try Evo, and I recommend that for everybody else to perhaps stop other than the ones that you need, that are benefiting you. But here I am, 2 hip surgeries, replacements in the last year. I take no supplements. I take Evo.
Hmm.
And I'm not falling down and I'm not feeling weak, but I don't feel a need to take much more. And on my face, I've got all these beautiful, expensive products that people give me because they want me to try their, skincare and whatever. But I always go back to this because it's natural, organic, vegan. And when people want to up it a little bit, we also have peptide formula for the face with basically that plus this bottle of peptides. And some people love this, some people prefer the advanced face. They're both great. We also have the 2-part with peptides for hair. People that got the shot, got the flu, whatever, and their hair fell out. We
Yeah.
have a lot of people dealing with that. This is fabulous. So we've got a great lineup of products and we have a lot of discounts. But again, I don't want people to be intimidated. Oh God, $80, $90, for a bottle that'll last me a month. Well, the benefits so outweigh 80 or 90 or $100 for the month. And the way to get $100 down to 80 is to sign up for a monthly subscription. You can cancel tomorrow if you want. We don't care. But it gives you 20% off right off the bat. We ship to you every month unless you don't want it. You just write us. You can say every other month, twice the bottle, or I want to change whatever. We've got great people in customer service that work at the lab, which is where we do our shipping from in Houston, Texas. But the 20% does help with the price, and it also gives you regular deliveries so you don't run out. We have all kinds of gift sets, like the dog lover with the one for you, one for your dog, 15% off anything that's a set. Our number one seller is Inside and Out set, which is the oil on the inside and the facial serum on your skin. Tremendous results when you're doing inside and out, and they're 15% off. And if you do that on a monthly, you save another 20.
Hmm.
Bigger than that, at the end, no matter what you get, there's a link for his show. It's c60evo.com/redpill78. But when you go to that link, you'll see the store, the testimonials. You can learn about the products, but you also get another code for 10% off through redpill78. So all I can say is you're worth it, and we're going to need our brains to work in high mode for these next few months as we get through the eye of the needle to the best days ever. And I really believe the best is yet to come. And I love it that you have the same devotion. And that's why you got a hat also. I only had 2 to give away.
I really appreciate it. This is incredible. I mean, I cannot believe that we are living in the world that we're living in now in the best possible way. Like,
Yeah.
I grew up my entire life hoping that I would be alive at some point to witness the changes that we're seeing. And, you know, when I just kind of disconnected from everything in the early 2010s, I did because I didn't think that it was possible, that the system had been captured and that they were never going to allow us to break out of that. And I'm so glad to say that I was wrong. And I'm so glad that everything that we've experienced in these last 8 years has allowed us to get to the point where we are seeing this fundamental change. And we are going to make America healthy. We are making America great. We are making America safe, and we are making America wealthy. Everything that you can think of, we are actually doing it. And I'm so happy. And Patty, as always, it's a pleasure to have you here. You guys, as she said, go to the link in the description below, c60evo.com/redpill78. You get the 15% off the sets. You get another 20% off if you do the automatic subscriptions, and then you get 10% off no matter what when you use code redpill78. So Patty, thank you again, and I will forward you Peaker 7's information, and I will see you again very soon.
Yes, you will.
All right.
Take care, everyone. Stay
right.
healthy.
God bless. We'll see you.